Woman has baby was the clever headline. In case you're the only person on the planet who hasn't heard, Private Eye was referring to the recent birth of Her Royal Highness Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana to the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Appearing briefly on the steps of the hospital earlier this month, the proud parents, Prince William and Kate, displayed the latest heir to the throne, rather like Our Lady holding forth her son for adoration. Only in this case, the devotees were the paparazzi and the royal tragics. Named for her grandfather, Prince Charles, already the oldest ever English king in waiting, and his first wife, the doomed Princess Diana, as well as her great-grandmother, the keeps on keeping on, Queen Elizabeth. She is unlikely to be the monarch, as there are 3 ahead of her in the line. But you never can tell. Queen Victoria was 5th in line when she was born, and Queen Elizabeth 3rd in line, and neither was expected to reign. Well, today we honour 3 other queens, whose titles and prestige surpass even that of the royal house of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, or Windsor. 3 queens greater than Victoria, Elizabeth, and the maybe Queen Charlotte. Amongst the courtiers of these 3 alternative sovereigns are our acting Chancellor, Peter Prendeville, Vice-Chancellor Celia Hammond, Deputy Vice-Chancellor Hayden Ramsey, our Auntie and Dr. Elsie, directors and trustees, staff and students, and the many distinguished guests here today. And I salute you all. The first of the queens I have in mind is, of course, Notre Dame, that grand dame for whom this university is named, and to whose patronage we entrust it yet again today. St. Luke records that as soon as Mary consented to the incarnation and conceived of the Holy Spirit, she ran into the hills to call upon and perhaps play midwife to her elderly kinswoman Elizabeth, who was in her 6th month. Amidst much dancing and singing, even it seems by their babies in the womb, Elizabeth completed the Hail Mary with "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb." Now, if calling her the most blessed woman or blessed virgin wasn't enough, Elizabeth added another title. "Why is it granted to me," she asked, "that the mother of my Lord should visit me?" Now, in the ancient Near East, that title, Mother of my Lord, meant Mother of the King or the Queen Mother. So already, in the very earliest days of the Incarnation, Notre Dame, Our Lady, was acknowledged as Queen. A strange sort of queen, though. 9 months later, she would bring forth a royal baby in a rather less comfortable environment than St Mary's Hospital, Westminster, and then leave not by car but by donkey, and not to Kensington Palace, but to Egypt as a refugee. Yet in due course, she would accumulate more titles than Queen Victoria, including Queen of Heaven and Earth. Our favourite of her titles here at UNDA is Seat of Wisdom. Under that title, she's the chosen patron of our campus, and a very fine mosaic of her features in our main courtyard. This Mary is no shrinking violet, but a strong throne. She carries wisdom incarnate in her womb, then dandles him on her knee. Monstrance-like, she holds him forth for contemplation and adoration. She carried and brought forth the Logos, communication or philosophy of God, the divine word or truth or teaching made man. And St. Luke twice tells us she treasured all these things in her heart and pondered them. So it's fitting that we honour her by dedicating a new building to her university, a new place for treasuring and pondering the things of God, a new cenacle in her university that has now surpassed 11,000 students and 830 staff. In our reading this evening from the Book of Wisdom, we meet another regal lady. The Hebrew word for wisdom, chokmoth, and the Greek word, Sophia, are both feminine nouns. And so the ancients often personified wisdom as a woman worthy of devotion and discipleship. She is called Lady or Queen Wisdom because, our sage insists, she is higher than sceptres and thrones, more precious than gold and gems. Through her, he says, God grants mere mortals language, understanding, and technology. And not just in one field, but true knowledge of all that is, metaphysics, of the structure of the world and properties of the elements, cosmology, physics, and chemistry, of the beginning, end, and middle of times, history, of the solstices and seasons, astronomy and climatology, of the natures of animals and the varieties of plants, biology, of the medicinal properties of roots, pharmacology, and of the powers of spirits and the mental processes of men, angelology and psychology. In other words, Lady Wisdom, this ancient text tells us, is the university in all its richness and diversity. To love her is to engage in philosophia, love of wisdom, philosophy. From our new boardroom, the directors and trustees will govern all the disciplines of the university, and we honour their service today. There will also be an area designated for staff to get together, and we honour the work of our staff this evening. Leaders and staff are united by the identity, mission, dare I say, philosophy of the university. So we've met two queens tonight, Queen Mary and Queen Sophia, both of whom guide our university. But there's a third, known in the medieval world as the Queen of the Sciences. To modern ears, it's passing strange to think that any discipline might reign over the others. Ours is an era of specialisation and fragmentation of knowledge, of radical postmodern scepticism about any absolute truth, and so any meta-narrative, unified theory or summa by which to interrelate all knowledge and make it something deeper, make it wisdom. If we moderns had to crown a queen of the sciences, it'd probably be mathematics, cosmology, or computer science. Yet the medievals who invented the university knew better. To them it was obvious. Theology is king, or better, queen. Philosophy, I'm sorry to tell Professor Ramsey, is merely her lady-in-waiting. Now, before you write this off as the imperialism of a theologian, let me explain why theology is crowned as queen here. Albert the Great, who published and taught in every university discipline, he was professor of every faculty in the university, and his very clever student, Thomas Aquinas, Both thought that sacred doctrine is the greatest of all the sciences because it starts and finishes with God, focuses the mind on the highest things, and is the most certain and most useful of all knowledge. Google Maps might get you from Chippendale to Darlinghurst, but if you want a map to happiness in this life and eternal bliss in the next, theology is the thing. Theology unites our experience and reasoning to divine revelation in contemplation of the mysteries. As St. John Paul II opened his great encyclical, Fides et Ratio, faith and reason are like two wings on which the human spirit rises to the contemplation of the truth. And God has placed in the human heart a desire to know the truth, in a word, to know himself, so that by knowing and loving God, men and women may also come to the fullness of truth about themselves. As faith seeks understanding, vistas of truth hitherto unknown to humanity are opened up. The very life of the Blessed Trinity and the splendour of Christ in his incarnation of the Blessed Notre Dame, in his body the Church, in his actions the sacraments, and in his likeness the human person. UNDA is unique among Australian universities in honouring the three queens, Mary, Sophia and Theologia, in recognising the importance of each and the interconnections between them, in asking the big questions in pursuit of a deeper wisdom for all the disciplines, in having a core curriculum and chaplaincy for students of all disciplines and specialists more full-time in philosophy and theology also. This new building is testament to the university's commitment to those disciplines and to the breadth and depth of the Catholic intellectual tradition. Here in the Moorgate building, the academic and general staff of Philosophy and Theology School, including the core curriculum lecturers, will at last be housed together and in a facility outfitted for the purpose. I understand that the corridor is wide enough for playing sport during free time. Though for the benefit of the university's leadership team, I'll assume there'll be very little of that. There are plans for an in-house library of Alexandria and Vatican Library, and I believe that there is an impressive walk-in stationery closet, not so grand as the bank vault once sported in the School of Philosophy and Theology in Fremantle. I congratulate you all on this latest addition to this burgeoning university campus. You are a treasured part of the academic landscape of Sydney and the mission of the Church in these parts. May God bless the work that occurs here, and may Our Lady, seat of wisdom, continue to treasure and ponder the great mysteries alongside you all, and reveal to you her Son, who is the wisdom of the Father, solace for every aching heart, an answer for every inquiring mind.